Hello, my name is Barrister Millie. Today we are talking about an overview of marriage according to Nigerian law. Marriage laws in Nigeria. Steps for getting married in Nigeria. We have to start by defining marriage considering the English dictionary. I want you to get your pen and notebook because what you don't know you can't manage. How can one be in a marriage and doesn't know what the law of the country says about marriage but yet some braj about being in a marriage for 5 to 10 and 20 years to 30 and 50 years and many more. The question is how well that is to ask if you have been in sweet marriage for all those years or you were in battlefield. If your answer is twisted, it simply means that it wasn't perfect. Sometimes because we were actually ignorant of what we brag off, we end up causing a lot of problems to the society just because we failed to study the rules and laws of marriage. What you don't know you can't be perfect in it except you know it. Ignorance of the law, they say, is not an excuse. Don't wait to have a divorce case before you start listening to Barrister Millie. Start now to study my legal teachings and rescue your marriage. Note: delay is dangerous. The more you know, the better for you and your family. Marriage in the English dictionary is defined as the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners. It is also called matrimony or wedlock, and this union establishes rights and obligations between the two people who are married, and just like every other contract entered into by parties, it is guided by certain laws. The aim of this write-up is to give a brief overview of the marriage laws in Nigeria and the procedure for getting married in Nigeria. Let's see types of marriages in Nigeria. Broadly speaking, there are two types of marriages in Nigeria, which are marriage under the Act, which is known as statutory marriage, and there is also the traditional customary marriage. Traditional customary marriage is a wedding ceremony that has been conducted in accordance with the customs of the bride and groom's families. Customary laws regulate it, but the Marriage Act and the Matrimonial Causes Act regulate statutory marriages. My dear, listen up. Let's have it in mind that it is necessary to point out that a statutory marriage is different from a church marriage. The fact that a marriage ceremony is celebrated in a church does not necessarily mean that it was contracted under the Act. For a church marriage to be recognized as statutory, it must comply with the requirements of the Act. The courts have held that in order to make such marriages statutory, the parties must consciously take steps and adopt the procedure in the Marriage Act. Yes, some who wedded at one local or only spiritual believing churches or mosque will not like what I have said, but the gospel truth still remains that what I said as of now is simply the law. You can't crucify anyone at this moment. The best thing is to find out if the man of God or the imam that wedded you actually did the needful, or if they are licensed organizations to conduct marriages. You can rectify that as it is still not too late, or you get a lawyer to assist you. Let's talk about celebration of marriage. Let's note that there are laws that guide the celebration of marriages in Nigeria. The Marriage Act MA provides that the following must take place for it to be recognized as a valid marriage. 1. The marriage must take place in a registered place of worship and must be conducted by a licensed minister or in the office of the registrar. Not all churches or mosques are licensed places for the celebration of marriages. 2. It must be done with open doors. 3. It must be done between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. 4. There must be at least 2 witnesses besides the officiating minister. 5. A marriage certificate is issued to the parties after a marriage has been contracted. 6. The final step is the signing of the marriage certificate. This must be done by the couple and be witnessed by 2 people and the officiant, the person conducting the marriage ceremony. 7. The duplicate must be sent to the registrar of marriages within 7 days after the celebration of marriage. The registrar of marriage, upon receiving such certificate, files it. Once all the steps are followed, it is a valid marriage under the Act. 8. The Marriage Act also stipulates that the marriageable age of any person is 21, as it provides that where either of the party to be married is less than 21 years of age, then consent must be given by the father or mother or guardian of such person. Under the Marriage Act, there are some acts that are considered as offenses, and if committed it would lead to grave consequences. These offenses include but are not limited to: 1. Marriage to a person with the knowledge that such a person is married to another. A person who commits this offense is liable to 5 years imprisonment. 2. Where a person makes a false declaration in a statement which the law requires for the purpose of marriage. 3. Where someone stands in as a witness knowing that he is not qualified to do so, he will be liable to 5 years imprisonment. 4. A person who has full knowledge that the marriage being contracted is one which is not valid but still goes ahead to contract it is liable to 5 years imprisonment. Again, the Marriage Act also recognizes foreign marriages that are contracted outside of Nigeria. It provides that a marriage between parties one of whom is a citizen of Nigeria, if it is contracted in a country outside Nigeria before a marriage officer in his office, shall be as valid in law as if it had been contracted in Nigeria before a registrar in the registrar's office. For me, this is where the law has to do more job, because a lot of people hide under this particular provision to violate Section 33 of Marriage Act, which say that any marriage contracted in Nigeria while either of the parties was in any way both customarily, or should we say traditionally, married to another person, that such marriages shall be void. What are we saying? Because of this section, people travel outside this country to wed with the belief that such wedding would be recognized in Nigeria. How would the law still go ahead to hold such a person liable to Section 33, knowing quite well that the said offense was committed outside jurisdiction? This is a job for the legislators, lawmakers. Finally, an intending couple must always endeavor to take the right steps when it comes to contracting a marriage, so as not to fall into the trap of entering into a void or voidable marriage. For a marriage to be valid under Nigerian law, it must be conducted in accordance with the due process of law. I know you have learned something today, and I believe you will never make any mistake during any marriage you are involved in. You can also do well to follow us, subscribe, sign up and like us to encourage Barrister Millie on this godly work. Thank you and God bless you for listening and or reading.